making the money that you've made with your agency and getting it to the 12K a month mark, are there any other things that you've been able to do? Because you were talking about how it's kind of like a domino effect, right? For you specifically, what was like the difference for you from not making the money to making the money? Were there any like realizations for you that you were like, I've been through this paradigm now where I've made the money, right? I've scaled to kind of the goal that I'd set myself. Were there any realizations where you were like, let me try a different approach? How blissful is that?
It's very peaceful. You as an owner or as an agency owner, you never want to carry all the burden.
In this video, I sit down with one of my students, Bryan, and we talk about how he went from 0 to 12K per month in less than a year with his agency. We really get deep into proven strategies that help him close more clients, how picking a sub-niche within e-commerce changed his life, and towards the end, he shares a pretty weird weekly routine that transformed his mindset. It's an incredibly juicy interview. Without further ado, let's go right into it. Hey guys, he's forcing me to say this. Now, what you're really interested in is the fact that this man right here went from 0 to 12K per month with his agency. What he's forcing me to say is the following, right? It's pretty impressive though. I generally I'm pumped. I'm pumped. There's a lot of people that are gonna resonate with this. This is very relatable to an entrepreneur. We've got Bryan, loves and knows the lyrics to every Adele song. If you guys stay till the end of the interview, he's gonna be singing a little extract from the new Adele song. I am expecting that. Easy on me. Okay. All right. But can also rap to Megan Thee Stallion. I don't know who that is, but that's dope. He's a single dad to a 16-year-old cat. That's an old-ass cat. He enjoys cooking, golfing, and working out, which we'll talk about your structure, your routines. I really like how you structured your life. I don't think you are you're not the typical SMMA stuck-up online entrepreneur who works 12 hours a day. And I there's a lot of value in that, right? So we're going to talk about that. I feel like when I first met you, when you first came to me for the mentorship, you had obviously the structures have gotten better, and we'll talk about that progression, right? But going into the agency side of things, when I first met you and you came to me for the mentorship, you had the routines in place. Like you were waking up early, you were doing everything that I'm sure you had heard.
I will.
Okay, consistently, right? On the agency front, right? At that time, where was your agency at? I believe you were servicing local business. Well, you're trying to serve local businesses, right? Like restaurants and stuff like that.
Yeah. So when I first came to you, because I think I reached out to you last year, I think it was like January actually.
Could be.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Like this was to begin with. This was way before you had the accolades and all the great stuff to say about you. Like you were just Jaime, right? I'm not trying to disrespect you. I swear to God.
No, it's true. But, I don't consider, without the results and all that stuff, without the student results and
Exactly. And I think I was one of the first people. I was just trying to network to begin with. I was like, who can I get access to that can really help me, or at least give me a little bit of insight? And again, you didn't have this record behind you. I was just simply out there fishing for something. And I was like, I just need direction. And we hopped on a call. I think it was like 20 minutes or so the first time. And you kind of just like ripped me apart. And I was just like, okay. You're like, what do you have in place? Like, what does your day look like? Like, what are your current methods? Like, can I cuss? I don't want to cuss.
Yeah, of course, man. No, do it.
I mean, you were basically like, stop messing around, or like stop, reaching out and networking, trying to network with people. Like you're just wasting time. It's like basically just do what you got to do and like figure it out. But my structure then was definitely like everywhere. Like there was no structure, I guess is the best way to say it.
Because you were trying to sign local restaurants in my area, San Diego, right? San Diego.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I first initially started with restaurants, and I was like, I'm a foodie. We can dive into that too if you want. But I love cooking. I like eating out as well, and I felt like I knew a little bit of restaurants. One of my first jobs was also being a server, so I like somewhat new. Really looking back at it, I did not know what the hell I was talking about in the beginning. But yes, restaurants, local restaurants, I really wanted to just like help them. I like my little town of Oceanside. It's not little, but it's part of San Diego County. We're just like at the end of North County, San Diego. So yeah, restaurants was something that I was like, I want to help home. I want to be able to like see everyone succeed. Obviously very naive into like what I was really getting into as well. But I was like, just very proud of my town as well. And I was just like, I'm going to start there. It's something that I can learn because I know like a little bit about it already, but it's something I can definitely grow and learn in. And yeah, it didn't really go that well. Like it was
what didn't go well? What were some of the struggles?
The struggles, well, I mean,
with local
it was
business
very time consuming because restaurant owners are sometimes not in the restaurant. And if they are, they're running around. Like they don't have time for you. If they're in the back, it's because they're orders or it's like management that they got to take care of their restaurant. They're not going to give you 15, 20 minutes that you're asking out of their time. Even if you go in there asking for 5, good luck. Like it's a struggle. So, I mean, that was really like the most expensive and extensive time that like I had spent trying to work with restaurants was just not being able to contact the owner. And it was like going to events and spending time there again, just trying to get something. And I mean, it was
because you were offering like what, Facebook ads, right? Purely
Facebook ads. And again, we're talking pre-pandemic. So like it wasn't like we had, I mean, there was DoorDash, but it wasn't as
popular and 100%.
Like certain people are, taking it online, certain people that have the capital and stuff. But yeah.
Dude, I think those are two very good points that you brought up, like, very early on, which is number one, it's not always a great idea to follow your passion, right? I feel like a lot of people, SMMA and, e-com agency, whatever you want to call it, right? It's typically like the first type of business the first business that a lot of people start. And for many, the heuristics, for deciding a niche or what road they travel is what am I passionate about? What do I like? What do I know a bit about, right? Yet these are, that's not what the market really cares about, right? And also, it's not what's necessarily going to be the fastest vehicle, right? And the second point is what you mentioned about the local business side of things, which is the problem with contacting these local business owners is the fact that they're not spending their time online. Oftentimes they're running around, they're taking care of their local business, right? Because it's it has a local nature to it. There's people, like it's fast paced and all this stuff, right? You then hopped on the mentorship, right? Then you made that transition to e-commerce. So the transition you made was essentially, well, you can tell the audience, but how did you take that passion and then apply it to e-commerce, which is a very interesting topic?
It's interesting because like even when transitioning to e-commerce, I went into food and beverage. So it was very broad, but I knew that I wanted to do something in food. I wanted to work with businesses that, again, I was able to not just have access to, like in my local supermarkets or local little liquor stores, if you will, because everyone sells a lot of local products. It's, you have farmers markets and whatnot. So it was difficult because, again, you're going from the local side of things to like a small little playing field that you can, in a way, manage and really learn, to now you're going into e-commerce, and it completely opens up another world. Like it's not just local anymore. It is very much everyone that can see you online. And I mean, it was a completely different playing field. I went into it dumbfounded, honestly. So we started working together. I mean, outreach was a problem for me. It was all manual. I mean, it was like 0 responses. My copywriting skills were completely, shit, if I'm honest. Like it was stupid, laughable at this point. But again, you don't know what you don't know, right? So Yeah, I mean, it was very difficult though. It was difficult transitioning from a local thing to online, completely online.
I think, like straight out the bat, you suffer from the typical classic SMMA cold outreach method. Just bang out a bunch of emails, right? Hopefully you'll get an answer, and then as well as like maybe some copy pasted shit that you hadn't actually like given a lot of thought into, right? Or just like not a clear like funnel strategy, right? Like, with different offers and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I started off taking a course. That's the thing. We're not going to name a course, but I started off by taking a course. So like, that's kind of all you know is the course that you take. And yes, like my side, personally, I'm very, what is the word? Resourceful, if you will. Right? Honestly, it's nosiness. Like I'm just nosy of like wanting to know what that person knows. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious. Curiosity. I think that's a good trait to have. Yeah.
Curious. So, in a good way, but, yeah, I mean, I only knew what I knew from the course, and that was it. Like, I went from, again, thinking that I knew something from local businesses to now I'm in e-commerce. I can't even be good at reaching out to local businesses. And now I'm going into e-commerce, and it's like, that's again, not knowing what to do. So obviously I had to reach out, and it was just like, it was great. I mean, it really helped out. You set out you shared a lot of your playbook early on, and it was very helpful, honestly. So
to give people in the watching this a few nuggets, right? We don't have to get into like the the exact architecture or whatever, right? But what were some of the biggest breakthroughs for you in terms of what we spoke about in the mentorship that people listening to this can say, oh, that's a good idea?
Elaborate a
bit. For example, right? When it comes to I don't know, the automated sales funnel, or when it comes to building communication protocols, or stuff like that, right? That really was a big breakthrough for you, and that made you go, oh, okay, this is what I've been struggling with. This is what I see a lot of people in the space struggle with. But now I have a better idea on how to execute on that.
Yeah, I mean, it was one, like I was saying, I was sending out emails to local businesses because there's only a list that you can do about it. It's a big list, but I was getting through them and obviously not getting anything. So when I went into your mentorship, and the automation, not in a way of like, oh, it's very spammy, but it's like you're able to
personalize automation is what I call it. Yeah.
Customize, I was going to say, but yes, to multiple people. So not just the automation side of emails and outreach was very helpful in that way, because I was spending a lot of time just like typing these out or copying, pasting, and like just changing small little things. And being able to automate all that, one, saved me a lot of time and allowed me to focus on other areas that, again, were struggling at the time. So automation, and then for the outreach side, then we had the team side. So you really gave away, I will say away, because like in a way I kind of like, was given a lot of information early on. Communication wise with teams, within the team, how to hire was one of the most important things. Because again, I had one person early on, and it was, I mean, again, just in retrospect, it was bad. And I was like,
what was bad about it? Like, what were some red flags for you?
Looking back,
because the reason why I asked that is because a lot of people don't know because you don't know what you don't know, right? When you start out, unless you have that guidance. So what was bad? Because what was bad in retrospect, right? What was bad about this person that you can now go, oh, this would have been a no-brainer now?
It was the lack of communication, for sure. It was not that I like to micromanage. I'm very hands-off, if anything. Like, I like people that take initiative as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm that way personally. Just again, curiosity, if anything, says a lot. Yeah. But I like people that ask questions as well. If I don't know the answer, because most of the time I really don't, honestly, I will look for it. And lack of communication in the first part. And two, it was just like transparency was not there also. It was a hire that was hired way too fast, and not having these structures and hurdles in place to really vet someone. You don't foresee it later on.
It's very, very hard to come up with a good person if you don't put the vetting in place, right? I feel like a lot of people just hire straight at the bat. Oh, I need a contractor, right? And the first person they get in contact with, boom, done, right? Yet you don't realize at the time how important and just a key component and key role that this person is going to play.
And that's so true. And just to piggyback on that, but it's like you post the post, you kind of just hop on a call with them once, and it's like, great, like now we're a team. And it's like you're going into this and you really did not have, not you, but like as an individual, did not have a proper vetting process. And like at the end of the day, not to offend anyone, but it's like they are a contractor, they are a team member, but again, they're not obligated to stay with you. So they can mess around or, really hurt your image in a way that can later just kind of bite you in the ass. And again, these are, I don't want to say names, but that's kind of what happened. It was just like lack of communication, lack of transparency, and it was just like lack of honesty. It
just
hurts
your hiring process. Poor hiring process results in poor decision. Yeah. What? Yeah, go ahead. What are some of the great things about this person that you have now? What would you say are some of the traits for people listening to this and watching this to be like, okay, those are some of the things that I maybe should look for in my team member?
Definitely have more interviews, not just one, not just two, have multiple touch points with this individual. Really get to know this individual because, again, they are a representation of you and your values. So it's whether it's like, what do they do on their free time, or like, how good are you? Yeah, like everyone makes mistakes. I don't really look for experience as much anymore. Yes, you have to have something, but it's not like the end of the world. It's not like, oh, you can't do this. Fine. Are you willing to learn it? Sure. It's like, great. Like, let's work towards it. At the end of the day, I just consider the agency, if anything, as a vehicle as well. Not just a money vehicle, but also a learning vehicle, because I as well am a student and I will always be a student. Like it's, you don't know it all. You're not going to know it all when you get hired or when you apply for a job. Like you don't know every single little thing. You are learning. You have a week, 2 weeks of training. And then even then, like you still mess up, even if you're there 6 months, 8 months, 2 years, like you don't know it all, and it's fine. As long as you have the hunger and desire to learn, I think that is very important. So
I do agree with that. I would say, however, for most people, starting out, I think one of the main things you want to optimize at first, at least for that first person, is the experience side of things, right? Because you don't have much yourself, so I think they can fill in that gap. Once you have that experience, once you've been in the trenches yourself, now you can then start you have more leverage. You can then look for different traits. Not that desire is not an important trait for those first hires. It is, but I do agree with the fact that as you start, growing the team, it becomes less about the hard skills, but more about the soft skills.
Correct. And not only that, because it's like you can have the smartest person or like the best team member, but again, like if they're not able to connect with your client, because they are also in these calls with you for the most part, if not just taking the call completely for you,
100%.
if they're not able to have that casual conversation and have that like emotional attachment to the company as well, and not just look at the data, like it says a lot as well. And it in the most part, like it does leave a bad impression. So
I think that's such a good point that you brought up there. Have you gotten to the point where the team member or one of your team members can have that conversation alone with the client and you not have to be there?
Now, yes, absolutely.
Okay. How blissful is that? How blissful is that?
It's very peaceful. Cause like sometimes like, it's not that I always hop on calls, but for the most part, I will. If I need to be there, I will. But if I don't, it's like, that's fine. Like, it's cool. Again, if I'm out a little too long and then I come back and it's like a call, it's like, yo, just take it. And it's like, it's fine. You know, it'll all work out. But
take it for the team.
Yeah, like just you got this. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But yes, it's definitely peaceful. It gives you that peace of mind. It gives you that confidence in them as well. Again, it takes not just time to build that trust, but it also takes like their knowledge and their experience of like being able to, you know, do it for you or do it for the team. So
I think that was one of my biggest breakthroughs as well. Or not breakthroughs, but when I realized like this is going to get a lot easier starting from now, right? Because the ability, essentially the ability to have the team member or one of your team members, the contractor, take a client call without you being there just gives you so much. It's not even the fact that, as you mentioned, it's not even the fact that you don't have the time. It's that you have the peace of mind and you have the tranquility and the you know, more important, the confidence in this person for them to do that, because you know that's your client. That's someone who's paying you money, right? But you know, it's kind of like it feels good to let go.
For sure. I mean, you as an owner or as an agency owner, you never want to carry all the burden, right? If you can start releasing some of these responsibilities, do it. Because then you can start focusing on other things as well. Like eventually it's like you're at a buffet, not only you have one plate, but now you have two. And it's like, it's just falling everywhere as you're walking to the table. You know, trying to just have some peace of mind is very important. So yeah, for sure.
Speaking about the different components of the agency, what are some of the things you are enjoying the most right now, or that bring most joy to you about this business model?
Definitely the freedom and the ability to move around, for sure. Like right now I'm in La Jolla. So I usually come to this WeWork because I don't necessarily like working in my house all the time. Or I'll work at a gym or anything. Like I go to Equinox, they have a lobby that I work in. But for the most part, like the mobility and the ability to do work literally anywhere. So it's like, whether it's a phone call like this, or whether it's an actual call with the client. I mean, it's the ability to find just any place. So I think that's the most important thing.
The
thing that I enjoy the most, I guess.
Yes, especially because, you know, because I really think technically maybe not, but I really feel like you have a different peace of mind, especially when you have the location and time freedom, when you have the financial freedom taken care of.
And that eventually comes,
right.
Like in the beginning stages, for sure. And again, I'm going to cut you off if anything, but like, I want to like really go into this. Like in the beginning stages, it is so hard. Like I remember just constantly working and like trying to figure out what to do, not just to get a client, but also when I had a client, it was just like, how can we improve this in so many ways that it's just like, it becomes time consuming. And it's like being able to figure certain things out, because it is a journey. I mean, it's not a sprint. It's like, it's not you get your first client and then you just all of a sudden have freedom. Like, no, like maybe that's all you want. Maybe that's something that, you know, you just want one client to alleviate and get a little bit more time. But in order to like really have a lot more time and freedom, like it takes time to, you know, establish that. So
I think the first client is just the one that gives you a bit of momentum, right? And it kind of tells you like, oh shit, this is real. Like I can do this, right? But it really gets good in the second year of running an agency. And because as you mentioned, like you start figuring out the systems, right? You start optimizing and you go, oh, I shouldn't be really spending time here. I should be doing this instead, you know, automating the outreach and this and that, right? And then you start tapping into like what's a business model that's pretty hands-off if you built it that way. And the fact that some people, like maybe they'll sign 1, 2, 3 clients and they don't give themselves a year, right? Or a year and a half to really get it to a point where it's pretty hands-off and you have, you know, the time, location, freedom, and really gets fun, right? It's honestly mind-boggling to me. It really is.
And again, I think just to like, minimize that a little bit, I don't think everyone wants that as well. So like, it just comes down to the individual. But yes, the potential of what it can be and how big you can really scale an agency is, honestly, I haven't even touched that area yet. There's so much more that I still want to do, and there's so much area that like is left to discover. Like, again, I'm a little like fish compared to you, and not to get comparing wise, but like,
yeah,
it's the business model in general is just ever growing.
100%.
Like, there's so many possibilities.
I think especially with an e-com agency, like there's really very, there's really no ceiling. I mean, we'll talk about how you've gotten involved with e-commerce and different components, but I think you brought up a really good point, right? Being the devil's advocate, like not everyone wants to, not everyone wants to take it to its maximum, right? I feel like maybe I'm wrong, and that's why I'm asking you. I feel like maybe you fall more into the category of let's just say lifestyle entrepreneur. Maybe I'm wrong, and I if so, correct me, right? But would you say for you starting this business was more about obviously the learning experience, getting your starting that business, but also having the freedom, or was it more about like you just have this passion for building businesses and you want to take it to the moon?
In the beginning, I mean, I think like anything, when anyone wants to start like a business, it's really just hunger, like the desire to want to be more or make more, if anything. Eventually it did evolve, for me at least, like wanting to help more people, not just like make money, but like just completely be able to help them relieve that stress of like financial burden, because it just overlaps. It really is a domino effect into all areas of life. 100%. So like if you can relieve that little area, see them smile a little bit more and whatnot, I mean, that's at the end of the day important. But now I wouldn't say it's so much like a lifestyle entrepreneur to begin with. I hate that word, entrepreneur. What is that? I absolutely hate
entrepreneur it. Or lifestyle entrepreneur, or both?
Both, I guess. I'm Bryan. I guess that's what it is. I really don't like putting a label in like, like, oh, that's what you do. It's like, you're an entrepreneur. It's like, what? Sure. Like, I guess. In a way, I'm not saying that I'm not, but the word just in general, I think it gets tossed around way too much. Side rant, by the way. Yeah. But now, I mean, it's not that I still like, I don't want to help people. I do for sure. I think right now I'm definitely in a phase where it's like, I'm just going to enjoy what I have and what I've been able to create already. And it's like, I'm just going to hang out for a bit. 100%. And again, I'm getting out of it for sure, because I think the last year was very difficult, not just for me, but obviously for a lot of people. I'm pretty sure was very difficult. And again, it was like, all right, well, I'm comfortable, but like now I just want to have fun a little bit. So my thing of fun is not necessarily going out. I'm not a big drinker to begin with, but like golfing. I mean, I just wanted to be able to do something more. And it's like, not just be stuck at home. Obviously we were forced to for a while, but yeah, like I was like, let's just go have fun. And my thing of fun was golf.
Yeah. I think every entrepreneur has that moment after like their first year. Obviously, you add the whole situation that we went through, and it's just the cherry on top, right? But it's like after a year of, essentially getting your face kicked in, and finally getting to work, is like, you kind of give yourself that break and it feels good. It's like, shit, I really did that. Right. And I think it's a very healthy thing to do, to start enjoying the fruits of your labor, whether that's like, I don't know, going out for like a nice meal with some homies, or whether it's like something more extreme, whatever that is. I think it's a very healthy thing to have. And I think it just gives you that extra perspective that you need when you've been in the trenches for so long. I remember like, I spent pretty much like 9 months in the trenches, especially during COVID, like going hard, right? Building my businesses. And then you're so stuck in the trenches, right? You're so stuck in the trenches that you don't realize how much and how far you're, and how far you're taking things. And then it's only when you come out that you realize, oh, I really did that. And I think that's a very healthy thing to do.
I think in one of our calls, again, I don't want to bring all these receipts up, but like, you were like, yo, I'm just going to put on the blinders and that's what I'm going to do. And in a way I followed the same thing. Like I was just looking down, not necessarily up, but I was like looking down at like what was next and what I had to do as well. And like, eventually you have to look up or you're going to run into something. Cause like it's, if you single focus on one specific thing, it's a rabbit hole. Yep. It can benefit you or it cannot. And so like getting too stuck into work mode, like you're going to reach a point where it's like, okay, now you look up and where the hell am I? Like, this is not what I wanted to do necessarily. Yeah. Or you become to like hit a success point and it's like, it's a good thing. And then that takes you somewhere else, but eventually you do look up. And I think that's what it was for me. I was just like, I'm kind of tired. Like I'm getting burnt out. Like if you're always operating, at like a 60% battery, 80% battery, like it's not good for the long term. Eventually you have to just completely plug in and like recharge and then go back out. And it's interesting.
Well, when you recharged, I think that recharge period is really good to have some like realizations, right? Oh, maybe I don't want to do things this way, or maybe I'm fixated on too much on the money or the success. Like maybe I want to, I don't know, something else, right? Look into spirituality or whatever it is, right? Were there any like realizations for you that you were like, I've been through this paradigm now where I've made the money, right? I've scaled to kind of the goal that I'd set myself. Were there any realizations where you were like, let me try a different approach, or let me stop doing this one thing?
I wouldn't say so much. I definitely did have one. I grew up Catholic. I'm not so religious, but I do meditate. I do believe in a higher power. Obviously, we're not going to get into religion. I don't want to get into religion, but like, yeah, I think my thing was definitely meditation and just floating as well was one of the really good things. That was like, how do I explain this? I'm a very emotional person, I think. So isolation definitely hit me hard. I like spending quality time with people. Not being able to have that was like, because one, we were locked in. Two, I was in work mode as well for the longest time. And three, like I just needed something to like release my mind from just work, because that's kind of like a default mode that I have as well. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it was just trying to get my mind out of that little hole that I was in. So whether it was golf, whether it was floating, whether it was just like taking a bike ride to the pier or something, like it was relieving for sure. And eventually, obviously, like that gave me a little bit more access to other things. And it was like my creative side started coming out. And you start realizing more, obviously, once you start getting out of it more. So.
100%. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs are going to relate to that because you can get hooked on the numbers and the results and, just keeping everything afloat and, increasingly kind of like making it better every single month and this and that, right? But not realizing that you're kind of like, sure, you're maybe increasing the income, maybe you're getting marginally better, but like you could be actually what cost, and you could actually hit like a hockey stick growth if you were to take that time off and you were to tap into a creative side, or like during a bike ride you get an incredible idea, you meet someone new, right? And then that's like another breakthrough, right? On the floating side of things, right, which I want to talk about, I'm gonna get Taurus to put up on the screen like I don't know, like an example of what that is, because I don't know what a lot of people I don't think, I only knew because of your stories, but I don't think a lot of people know what floating actually is. So I want you to explain that. Okay, what floating is, how you came to find about it, how you found out about it, and the main motivation behind getting into it, and finally, some of the advantages and some of the benefits that you've seen? Because it's kind of weird to me, right? To think that after all this isolation and this pandemic, right, you decide to literally seek that. But it makes sense. It makes sense to me, right? But maybe for a lot of people watching, it doesn't make sense. So yes, go ahead.
So interesting, because like, okay, to begin with, floating is basically, it can be many forms, because you can either go into a pod, basically looks like a giant pillbox.
We'll just leave an image on
yeah,
screen.
so like it can be an entire room, or it can actually be like this little pod that you go into. Big enough, obviously, so you can fit. Personally, I like going into the big rooms. The little pods, you kind of like, you're still cramped up. It's not that I have, anything wrong with me or whatever, but it's like, I like moving around in the tank. So it's a pretty big tank. 2, it's the room, and it's like 10 inches of water. So it's not even a foot. It's like 10 inches of water. It's basically 20,000 pounds of Epsom salt. So it literally just makes you float. Like if you go into your bathtub, put 10 inches of water, you're going to sink. You're going to be still sitting on the ground. Once you end up putting salt into it, it just rises you. So I ended up finding out about floating. One of my friends is like, he swears by it. I do too now. But he was like, you got to go. You got to try it. Like, you just go practice some meditation in there. Because there's so many things that you can do in there. You can literally just like stretch if you want. Or you can actually like sleep, which is kind of weird. Like, why are you paying to go sleep in a thing? Up in bed or whatever, you know what I mean?
The water is warm, right? Like it's nice and cozy, or yeah.
Body temperature. So it's like what, 74, 76 degrees, whatever it is. Well, Fahrenheit. I'm in.
Yeah, I don't know how to translate that. Let's not even try. But
anyways,
yeah.
But Fahrenheit, to make it clear, it's body temperature. He was like swearing by it, so I was like, fine, I guess I'll try it out. So I remember trying it out maybe a little bit before the pandemic started. So November 2019, I think it was November or October. Same, I guess 2 years ago, if you will. I'm not going to get specific, but I remember trying it once. I fell asleep. I was like, I paid $60 to like, I mean, it relaxed me, so I fell asleep.
This was the pod or the big tank?
I went to the pod. Okay. So like, I just ended up going to sleep, and I was like, okay. I was like, not going to do that again. I was like, this is crazy. One, I'm broke at this point. So like this moment in life, I was like, maybe not going to pay to go sleep in a little capsule. So eventually, like I was still meditating, obviously, throughout the pandemic. And I was like, I kept seeing his stories. He was posting and posting and posting. He's like, you know what time it is? And I was like, I do. Like, I was like, I need to go back. So I was like, okay. So I ended up going and getting like my first session for like $20 or something, like $25. Mm-hmm. And I went, and I was just like, again, fell asleep, because it was like 2 years after that I went. So I went and I fell asleep, and I was like, man, what if I had actually like, meditated instead of not just like laying there and trying to like figure out, because I had so many thoughts at the time as well. And I was like, I'm going to come back. They had like a pack, like a starter pack. So I bought the 4-pack of floats. So I had already used my first one, and then it just, they added 3 more for the float pack. So I went back the second time, and I was like, really, like, I was like, I'm going to make it a priority to really meditate. So I do this thing where it's like, certain touch points you focus on. I don't know. I'm not good at explaining meditation. You just kind of like clear your mind, but meditate how you want if you ever want to try it. But I went and I meditated, and I got into like, I swear I was just like in the 3rd dimension. Like, I don't know if it was the salt. I don't know what was in the water, what else was added in the water, but I reached this like deep point of like clarity as soon as I walked out.
And you're lying down, right?
Yeah, you're lying. That like there's so many positions. You can either have like your hands out, or you can have like
dead body type of position.
Yeah, and by the way, like you shower before you have to shower before you go in there to remove all the oils, and then 2, you go in there nude. So it's just like you just in the pool of water, just floating in there. And again, I personally like meditating in there. Some people just go spin circles if you get the big enough tank. Like you can stretch or whatever. But anyways, I fell in love with it. After that, I was like, I walked out. It was like 4 p.m. at this point. I went in at 1 because I ended up having like a 2-hour session the second time that I had my second float. And I was like, this is crazy. I was like driving back home, 4 p.m. It's like rush hour. And I was just like, oh, heck no. Like, this is so great. Like, I want to go back. So long story short, I ended up just like booking my first 4 floats like every other day. So I was floating. And I mean, it was just crazy. It was craziness that I went from having the peace and mind and clarity coming out to this crazy world. It like opened a completely different realm for me. So now I float every week. It's like, it's a ritual to me. Some of the things that I like think in there, it's not always great. I'm not gonna lie. Like sometimes I will not only meditate, but sometimes I'll like break down my day or I'll break down my week and then, go on from there, like dive deeper into like a certain topic if I do want clarity. And I mean, it's crazy because like I sometimes come out with solutions, obviously alone. And it blows my mind that the same brain that created all that chaos or that confusion was able to like solve it. It's crazy. It probably sounds crazy, doesn't it?
I mean, no, it sounds very interesting. I think, I mean, I'll definitely try it. I'd like to try things. Yeah, no, it's a practice that I wasn't super aware of, but it makes sense. I guess I'll just have to try it. Or are there any other things that, making the money that you've made with your agency and getting it to the 12K a month mark, are there any other things that you've been able to do? Because you were talking about how it's kind of like a domino effect, right? For you specifically, what was like the difference for you of making from not making the money to making the money?
Honestly, I mean, again, I think time, it allows you to do so much more things. Again, you don't have to spend money to have fun. You can, obviously, yeah, floating requires money to get in. I was able to go on bike rides a little bit more, like just enjoy, like slow the crazy brain that I have. And it's just like slow things down or like go on a walk at middle of afternoon, like, or, whatever time it is. Like time was definitely, I think, the most important thing that not only allowed me to do so much more, whether it be something expensive or whether it just be a walk. Like it did not matter. Time for sure, though.
Shifting gears a little bit, what are some of the main benefits you've seen from working with e-com brands, right? Because I know that I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe you told me that you've struck up certain connections and certain quote unquote friendships as a byproduct of you having these people as clients, right? And that's one of the things that I talk about a bunch, which is also the networking component, right? The fact that you get to meet these e-com founders and all sorts of things can happen as a byproduct of that. So can you walk us through maybe any experiences, any relationships you've struck up that have been beneficial and that have led to other opportunities?
Yes. So it's interesting that you bring this up again, because not again, but like, it's not the first time that I've heard it. It's like, I get it. I hear it so often where it's like, how are you well connected? Again, I think it just goes back to me being curious and like wanting to know what people know. But when I think there's two for sure that I was like, I learned so much because again, I'm in the food and beverage industry. I work with basically anything that you're able to package, grab and go kind of snacks and stuff. I work with those. So my friend has a hemp drink company. And though I never got to work with him, he would always give me a lot of insight on how food and beverage works. One, I wasn't able to work with him because you can't really run ads for cannabis drinks on Facebook.
Yep.
And even if you wanted to, on Google, like it's still difficult. You have to really, his business model that he uses is really effective. I mean, again, I'm deviating, but
is it, I mean, I'm not sure if you want to share, but is it like mostly influencers or affiliate?
Influencers, yeah, it's more influencer marketing. So he uses that. I mean, he's really good at doing that. I think their first round, their first Series A funding was 1.2 million, maybe a little off, something like that. But with that, they were able to scale. So I was able to learn a lot from him about the food and beverage industry. More beverages, more cannabis side, more drink side, if anything. So from there, also another connection was my friend has a wine company. With wine, it was like getting more involved into like alcohol and whatnot. And again, they pack their own wine, they make their own wine, they pack their own wine, and then they sell their own wine and distribute their wine. So I was working with, not working, but like really volunteering, doing work just so I can like get around the environment and like learn the behind the scenes area of like how they make it, pack it, ship it, the logistical sides. And one of the clients, like all that really accumulated to like one of the clients that I was working with, we were running Google ads for them. And which it's a pet company. It's a grooming company. So local in San Diego, they have like 6 locations. But they were trying to build, I was working with them with Google ads, and I was trying to help them build their distribution centers, which is what I'm actually involved in now. So I actually go in there 2 days physically, and I work in a giant old warehouse. And I had to really just like figure out how to bring it about, and being able to connect those two experiences of like beverages and like how to create something to the winery and how to like package it and ship it out really helped me. I don't run Google ads for them anymore. I'm in charge of their whole distribution fulfillment center. So yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits that I was just like trying to just learn from different areas, and eventually like it all kind of just ended up on this side, and that's where I'm at now. So I mean, it's cool.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah, I think it's super cool. Yeah,
learning from different areas and just being able to completely have it all in one, and now you're in charge of something, of creating something as well. I will say there is ups and downs from it, because one, I don't know everything with creating it. We're having good, success and progression at the moment, but like going into it, I did not know a lot of like what I was going to be dealing with. They're paying well, and it's a good learning experience. At the end of the day, like it doesn't really matter about the money at this point, because like I still have my agency, but again, going back to like being a little bit more hands off with my agency, because I'm focusing a little bit more time. I'm trying to split my time on both sides. But yeah, like I'm learning so much more that like just money can't even buy, because eventually like I want to do my own thing. I'm not going to jump to that scale instantly, but like I now know so many of the processes that I did not know before, which is so cool.
It's very cool, and it's super fun to hear, because I keep saying to mentees and and even on my YouTube videos, like you get to learn about a product development and even logistics and distribution, right? And I feel like a lot of people hear that and they're like, look, how are you gonna have the time to even do that? But it's just when you are in this e-com space, right? The opportunities come about to learn these type of things, right? And then opportunity breeds more opportunity. And then eventually, as you said, you can take all this knowledge, not just from Google Ads, Facebook Ads, the service you're offering, but also distribution and maybe like influencer marketing, affiliate marketing that your, homie with his company is doing, right? You take all this learning and then you package it and you put it into your own brand or your own thing, right? As you still run your agency, and it's insanely valuable. And not only that, but then you can add more value to your clients, because not only are you the Google Ads guy, but you can tell them, oh shit, why are you not doing this for your distribution center? And they're like, why didn't you do it for us, right?
So I mean, it was crazy, because like the opportunity presented itself like very subtly in the beginning. It wasn't like overnight, like, oh, we're not gonna do Google anymore. Like, do you want to do this? Like, it was like just like, hey, do you know about this? Like, and I was like, yeah, like I can refer you to this person. It's like you just start being able to network your own network and like cross network. And eventually they're like, well, since you're pretty efficient at this and like, you know what you're doing, like, do you just want to take over? And I'm just like, it's a cool project. Sure. Like I'll, I don't know it all. I'm not going to lie. But I'll do it. Like, he's like, yeah, like, there you go. And I was like, okay. Like it took, I don't know, 3 months for that to happen though. Eventually, like in the beginning, it was like, yeah, like, can you ask me this question, or can you answer this question for me? And I was like, yeah, I guess, like I'll ask or whatever. But eventually, yeah, I mean, it grew to what it is now, which is cool. Like it's so cool.
I think what you said there as well is important, right? The fact that sometimes it's not even the fact that you're networking and moving around, right? It's the fact that once you get into a founder's owner, or whoever the person is, into their ecosystem, and they see that you're doing a pretty proficient job with something, they're going to give you, if they like you and they can see that you're efficient with communication, reporting, and all these other aspects, they're going to give you more responsibility, right? So you can sell them other services, whether it's email marketing or even, the opportunity, which is definitely a weird one. It's not a common one, but even the opportunity of running their distribution, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, this can be applied to anything else as well, because it's like mine happens to be a little weird to begin with. It's not a common thing where it's like, oh, you know all this? Great. Like, here's this all of a sudden.
I feel like the approach is the same though. Like the idea behind it is the same. Definitely the byproduct is not a common one, for sure.
Yes. I mean, it's cool though. That's what it is.
What are you excited about moving forward with your agency? Maybe this other, like, what do you see yourself? It's a very cliche question, but what do you see yourself taking the agency, and what do you see yourself in a year? Where's Bryan at in terms of business wise, maybe mindset wise?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier in this conversation that I'm like getting out of a rut, like not a rut in a way, because like I enjoyed it. But like, I'm starting to get my structure back, and it's like trying to get momentum. It's so hard to stop, start, stop, and then start. If I know I've done it before, where it's like I've stopped and I've gotten to a certain place, gotten, happy, gotten my dopamine levels out and whatnot. And it's like, eventually, like, you want more as well. And I think that's where I'm at right now. It's like, to get specific with you, I definitely do want to grow the agency side a little bit more, because I know this is a little bit more temporary. The whole distribution center is a little bit more temporary. That was the term in the beginning. I was like, I'm not going to do this for you. Like, I will build it, I will train, and I will leave. Like, that's kind of what it is. I'll do it in X amount of months or whatever. But the agency is obviously my baby. I definitely want to grow a little bit more. I can't give you a specific number. There's so much, like, again, potential in it as well.
Yep.
But for me right now, it's just trying to figure out exactly what the number is, or better yet, worded, like, how many lives can I change? So cliche. But clients, like what is the number of clients that will get you to that goal? So,
right. I think another thing that I'll say on that is, like, as much as we spoke about the importance of taking that break, and I think it was the right decision, also for the people watching this and listening that are at the beginning stage of the journey, I think what you said there is very important, right? The fact that like when you start, then pause, then start, then pause. You don't want to do that at the beginning, right? You want to do it when you've, maybe you reach the 10K month mark or the goal you set, and you feel like you're a bit, stuck in a rut, and you want to, I don't know, enjoy the fruits of your labor. But if you're starting and stopping when you're beginning a business, it's just so difficult, because you need to build that momentum. Even when you don't feel like it, you have to chip in and show up every single day, because otherwise you're literally like, a train that you get up to 100 miles an hour, you bring it to a halt and then you have to restart again, right? And so that idea of momentum is just so incredibly important for those starting out.
It's so, yeah. And honestly, like that's even on a personal level, like that's kind of what I did in the beginning as well. It took me forever. I think there was like a moment where, I think you asked for an update, or I don't know what happened, and you were like, where are you at? And I was like, oh, I'm here. Like, this is nothing to show for. Like, I'm not in the cool kids club, I think is what I said. I was like, I'm not in the cool kids club. And I mean, it was just, a wake up call, but I knew that I wasn't like reaching or producing, I guess, the amount that I was able to, like that I'm at now, I guess. But it's difficult, especially if you stop, start, like it becomes a habit eventually. And if you can find something to like break that habit, and it's just like go, eventually, you will stop. But the go area, or the start of all that journey that you went through, is a lot longer than like little increment.
It's kind of like getting rid of that emotional attachment to the result, right? I feel like a lot of people are so emotionally driven at the start. It's like, oh, if I don't get a response today from a client, then I'm stopping, like I'm, the world is ending, and then it's like this constant positive momentum. Would that be the advice that you'd give yourself starting out? Like if you look at the Bryan that started this agency, would that be the one piece of biggest piece of advice, best piece of advice?
Best piece, I guess. I was going to say, would that be? I mean, there'd be so many things to say,
right.
But
roll down to one.
Roll down to one. It's fine. No, definitely, like, everyone starts off at zero, whether it be, I mean, everyone, you just have to get going. And as long as you take and focus like on what's in front of you for a while, until you like obviously have to look up again, just trying to use the analogy from earlier, but like, just get started. Whether it be this, whether it be something else, like you have to take that first step in order to eventually get somewhere. Whether it be, again, distribution center from like e-com, like I went from restaurants to like e-com to distribution center. Like where does that come from? Right? Like eventually you will keep progressing though, and it'll be fine. Like you got to move though, for sure. You got to take that first step. Nice. So, yeah, it's interesting.
Any final words? Anything you want to say to the audience? The final thing, final comments.
Honestly, we can keep going on, but I gotta go as well as you do. But I mean, I like ending on that note. Honestly, just taking that first step, it will really change a lot. Like, ask questions. Don't be scared to ask questions. Whether it be to this guy, blow this guy's DM after this, I hope. But you're going to get that automated response that I've gotten so many times. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Even when anyway.
Which one? I'm busy, like.
Yeah, I don't know. You delete it every single time. Because I'm like, he asked me like you reached out to me the other day, rant. You reached out the other day, and then I responded to it because it took me a while to like get back to you. And I got the automated response. I was like, what? Like,
it doesn't really work very well. It doesn't really work very well.
I mean, it's a good thing to have. But ask questions. Again, not everyone is curious. Don't be shy, at least. Like, I'm both in a way. But like, ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, whether it be to him or anyone else. Like, look around, find a solution. It'll be fine. Like, it really will. It'll all work out. So.
Dude, I I want to acknowledge you for taking that first step. For actually, you know, oddly enough, like for believing in my methodologies. Very early on, right? When there wasn't the crazy student results like 0 to 30, 40, 50K and all this shit, right? So I want to acknowledge you for that. I think, yeah, I mean, it's always great to catch up with you and to see how far you've come. And I appreciate you, man. I really hope we can, you know, we'll definitely do that US, you know, meetup. We'll, maybe I'll try floating. Maybe you'll get me into floating, but no, it's good to see all your progress, man. Makes me happy.
And thanks to you too. Honestly, I've said this before. You can probably even go to the first story that he has, but you really do have something special, and it's like you, again, like are able to process all this information and take that little snow globe that you know everyone goes through, and just like be able to make it all go down and see clearly. And it's a special thing to, one, not just be, you're not selfish, you share the information with people. Is it limited to some? Yeah, it kind of has to, but you put on a lot of free content, and it's like things that no one really else is saying or no one else is sharing, because it's like everything is glamorous for other people, but it's like, no, like this is kind of the truth. And even like a student interview, whether it be mine, whether it be someone else of your previous students, like, or future students as well, like there's a lot of good content that you were really just providing. So yeah, like take advantage of it. And again, thank you. So it's a privilege, it's an honor. It's been a while, obviously, since you know the first stages, but it's cool. I love it. So
means a lot, man. Means a lot. It's the reason why I do what I do, and as I said, I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. And yeah, I mean, we'll definitely be in touch. So yeah, all the best. Take it easy, buddy. All right, that is that for the student interview with Bryan. If you want results just like Bryan, you want to start your agency, or maybe you're struggling to grow your agency and you want to take your agency well above the 6-figure mark in record-breaking time, then you might want to apply for my private mentorship. This is not a course with thousands of students. I've kept it pretty tight-knit so I can give that one-to-one attention, and it can be a personalized, tailored interaction. So if you're interested, the first thing that we do is we jump on a call, get to know you a bit better, and see if you're a good fit. And if you are, then we can discuss further. So there's going to be a link in the description where you can go ahead and book yourself in. And with that being said, hope everything's gone well in your journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.